Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bear, and tonight I'm reminded of a hidden masterpiece of a story I watched the other day, starring Judd Nelson, Wayne Newton, James Caan, and Bill Paxton. And Bill Paxton molests a dead woman. And then a giant boot fell on my head. Ooh! Do I have a headache? Today, we're going to be watching a film that very few people have even heard of, being a surreal journey into the dark underbelly of the entertainment industry, success, and artistic integrity. The Dark Backward. Rifkin is not your average writer and director. Having started at a young age, he's less interested in making money and more interested in trying every single type of filmmaking you can think of. He's basically the artist who gets bored with his own work before anyone else does, which has resulted in him having some very inconsistent quality and some very bad, risky films. He has all of the wrong ingredients, and yet somehow with his love of filmmaking, without consideration on whether or not he's a success or not, he has managed to create something truly remarkable that even today has professional movie critics scratching their heads, not knowing how to categorize it. And that film, of course, is the one and only The Dark Backward. Now, to put this into context, he wrote this at merely 19 years old, being completely new in the industry. After sitting on it for a few years, Judd Nelson fell in love with the script after reading it, finding it an interesting challenge to really stretch his acting skills in something so original. It was after that that all the other A-list actors joined in, and the production company signed off on it because of all of them and its cheap budget, despite the odd script and Rifkin's young age. Some stupid kid from Chicago, with no actual experience behind him, managed to get all of these A-list actors to put their neck on the line for this film over the script alone. That's what this is, people. This is The Dark Backward. So, with that in mind, let's begin the grind. So, the movie starts off with our protagonist, Marty Moore, doing stand-up comedy, played by a very sweaty Judd Nelson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm reminded tonight I went to the post office to get some stamps, and I waited my usual 3 hours in line, and this giant boot stamped me on the head. Ooh. Do I have a headache?
That's not just my editing. He's so unfunny, he's almost as bad as Amy Schumer.
Fuck you, Amy! Fuck you, Amy! Oh, Mike, stay away from me.
And he isn't trolling being intentionally bad. He is genuinely trying to make people laugh. He's just not any good at it. He tells people weird nonsense and wears an oversized colourful jacket because that's what he thinks other people want, not actually knowing what he has to do to make people laugh. The only reason he's trying this is because of his quote-unquote friend, Gus, played by the late Bill Paxton.
Even you didn't laugh.
I was laughing on the inside. You were funny, hilarious. Most of them were probably laughing on the inside too, unless they were too stupid to get the joke.
I love this character. This complete slob of a human being laughs at Marty's unfunny jokes, yet he doesn't find them funny at all. He merely does it to feed Marty's ego to manipulate and exploit him at any chance he gets. And unfortunately for Marty, he's literally the only person in his life that feeds his sense of self-esteem.
This movie star goes to see this podiatrist, right?
Right!
He limps into the office.
What's a podiatrist?
Who the hell knows?
Not even his girlfriend finds his jokes funny. She jumps back and forth between apathy and genuine love. And that's possibly the one part of this story that is badly written, from a 19-year-old with no actual experience of women or relationships. So anyway, to the backdrop of circus music and an old man's praise, these two garbage men do a terrible job at, well, their job. Then said human trash can eats some old sandwiches someone threw away, before he finds a woman giving him the eye.
Giggity giggity, giggity goo.
For God's sake, Bill, what did Adam Rifkin tell you to sell you this role? You was in Apollo 13, man. Have some dignity. Gus decides to get rid of Marty to have sex with his super obese girlfriend, and then drops by his place later to eat a rotten chicken right next to the pork juice.
Let's see.
What the fuck? I mean, that is so disgusting, and yet at the same time I can't look away. He laughs at more of Marty's unfunny jokes, he bombs on stage again, and is feeling depressed since in public Gus was laughing on the inside again. But that's okay, because Gus found Marty a talent agent and a lump on his back.
You better see a doctor. The last thing we need is for you to get spine cancer before our big break.
So he goes to the doctors, gets molested by a nymphomaniac nurse, and examined by a quack doctor played by the late James Caan. Wait, is that a fetus in a pickle jar?
Oh, you're concerned an odd little lump.
Keeps getting bigger.
Shut up.
Do I need to worry about it?
You just leave it alone and it'll fade away. I don't care. I don't care.
Sounds like the last time I went to an NHS hospital.
This will fix you. Right. That'll do you. All right, $250.
And that seems like your average American hospital visit. He doesn't have the money, so the nurse offers for him to pay by having sex with her, regardless that he's clearly uncomfortable. Okay, so to review, the two people who are literally paid to care about him don't care and merely just exploit him. And that is a consistent theme, that much like in the real world, there is no shortage of wolves in sheep's clothing.
When Marty gets rich, we all get rich!
Everyone in his life either sees him as worthless or as something to use, and that includes the the talent agent Jackie Chrome, played by Wayne Newton. And yes, that is literally a pencil moustache. He walks out saying he's the worst stand-up he's ever seen. Gus naturally sugarcoats the news into oblivion, and then he notices his lump has grown slightly. I would genuinely love to hear what Freud would have to say about that. Maybe something about a manifestation of anxiety from being different and not fitting in with his unique talents and perspectives, following putting himself out there doing stand-up. Either way, Dr. Useless doesn't help him, his girlfriend dumps him, and Gus decides to literally eat dog food and have a threesome with three very bubbly women on Marty's bed.
Yep, I'll eat anything! I'll even eat bugs!
Oh yeah, and Marty's little baby hand turned into a full-grown arm. You know, I would question the physics of growing an arm in a day, yet I just saw Bill Paxton eat dog food and then still got laid. So, I think we can suspend our disbelief at this point. Now that he is a total freak show, everyone abandons him except for Gus and the talent agent, now interested in exploiting him as an actual freak show. He gets him a brand new clown costume and work being a thing of amazement, yet still doesn't make anyone laugh.
Maybe the jokes aren't strong enough. What we need here is a gimmick.
I thought my arm was the gimmick.
We need more of a gimmick.
I mean, the guy literally has a third arm that's grown out of his back, and that's not sensationalist enough for this ringmaster. If you haven't picked it up yet, what this movie is doing is a very clever commentary on the nature of the entertainment industry, that often it values spectacle and fleeting short-term fame over any real long-term value or success. Jackie Chrome is basically those scumbag YouTubers that exploit the homeless for views. But more importantly, Marty is depressed, thinking about his ex, and Gus, being the good caring friend he is, decides to bang her. Right in front of some guy in the cafe who doesn't seem to care. I wonder if I should water the houseplant again. Is a week too soon? What are friends for, huh? Now, even though he's being exploited as a sensationalist freak show, show business tends to like sensationalist freak shows. So the ringmaster actually gets Marty and his musical accompaniment Gus a TV gig with a bunch of other talentless idiots.
The man with 1,000 faces! Danny Nickel and his fantastic gymnastics! We're going to Hollywood!
And because of this fact, after having his 5 seconds of fame, Marty's confidence goes up, looking forward to his new career, losing his, anxiety along the way. So yep, following this newfound confidence, he lost his third arm. And much like real life 5 seconds of fame, easy come, easy go. There's a reason why freak shows travel from place to place, because once the novelty wears off, people get bored. The Hollywood suits that wanted him now no longer want him, yet now they want Gus the accordion player, being the next new novelty who just happens to be in the right place at the right time.
Do you hear that, Marty? I'm going to Hollywood!
We see anybody, huh?
See ya, Mark!
So yep, now everyone has abandoned him, truly regarding him as worthless now that he's lost his freak show appeal, regardless of all of the nice things they told him. His ex moves away without telling him, he goes back to his old job, and is now just left in a pit of despair and loneliness. I must say, from a storytelling perspective, I do quite like this. Too often stories focus on unrealistic happy endings, which just make it impossible to relate to for most people. That's one of the reasons George R.R. Martin is such a good writer, since he's willing to make his characters that he likes suffer as people often do. That's also why I never liked Harry Potter, since J.K. Rowling was way too emotionally attached to her characters to hurt them to any meaningful degree, like an overprotective mother or something. Our story ends with Marty picking up where he left off, in the same tiny stand-up gig he had at the beginning, except this time with no f***s given. Wearing his regular dirty work overalls, and not even trying to sound weird or make people laugh, he bares his soul on stage and tells people his honest truth.
Started out as a lump, and then it grew into a baby hand. My best friend Gus said I was a weirdie. My girlfriend dumped me. She didn't like me always having the upper hand.
So yep, now he's mildly funny, coming from a place of authenticity, laughing with the audience, as opposed to trying to get them to laugh at him.
Thought I would join the military, but I failed the physical. Can you imagine me not being allowed to join the army?
And with all that said, that was The Dark Backwards. A cheap, grotesque movie written by a teenager, and yet a hidden masterpiece nonetheless. A lot of people don't like this movie, and I can see why. The style of this film can only be regarded as dark and disturbing, being disgusting in a number of different ways, making it pretty uncomfortable to identify with nearly all of these characters. However, that is part of the brilliance, since this is a very apt satire of a dark part of human nature. Depicted as a metaphorical circus, this film is commentary on the nature of fame and the quest for authenticity. The entertainment industry is fickle and transient, being a very difficult greasy pole to climb, that oftentimes people sell out their true nature for short-term fleeting fame. In our modern age, the internet is full of these people, farting on their TikToks, chasing that need for fame and approval. The moral of this film is about being your authentic, true self, and accepting if you're loved or hated for it, as opposed to a freak show and clown to get fleeting attention and short-term success. Long-term success does not come from following the crowd, but leading it. When you think of the giants of entertainment, the Jim Carreys, the Robbie Williams, the Andy Kaufmans, they didn't turn themselves into a freak show. They merely exposed the entire freak show that is society. They were masters at navigating the complex interplay of performance, without surrendering their authenticity and integrity. Even Carey completely reinventing himself to succeed. Deep down, his actions came from seeking his fundamental truth and having a laugh, not merely selling his dignity for attention. Surrendering it can give you quick short-term success, but the big players, the ones history will actually remember, they don't surrender it. They're in it for the long haul. This film beautifully captures that ugly truth, in a way I haven't seen in any other story, and that is why this film will last the test of time. The story ends with Marty being a loser, and he's okay with that, because unlike everyone else in the story, he has his dignity back, and his career coming from a place of genuine authenticity. So that's the end of the show, and remember, likes and shares are always a treasure, watching the ads helps the algorithm glow, Join the Bear Army on Patreon. Don't be slow.